So, welcome to the Treasury Elite Leadership Series. I would like to thank all our viewers and members supporting this noble cause of Treasury Elite, whose main objective is networking, knowledge sharing, and mentoring. Good afternoon, everyone. I'm Abhishek Goenka, founder and CEO of IFA Global and Treasury Elite. We bring in one stop Treasury and FX solutions for companies across India over the last 16 years. And today we have Mr. Naganand Doraswamy. Naganand is a serial entrepreneur turned investor. After exiting his most recent startup, he founded Idea Spring Capital to fund and actively support product innovation startups. He enjoys working with entrepreneurs who have the vision and passion to build products for the global markets. Naganand has also co-authored a book on IPsec published by Prentice Hall. Good evening, Naganand. How are you doing today?
Doing great, Abhishek, and very glad to be here. And thanks for having me on your show today or podcast. And look forward to having a great conversation.
Sure, great.
Yeah.
So, ask this question to every serial entrepreneur, uh, young or old, that there is one common thread which I could link a lot of global CEOs. That after a certain point of time, it is just not about the money. So, what keeps you excited every morning to get to work? Or if I may ask, what is your why?
Yeah. So good question, Abhishek. So my thought on that, and what I tell all entrepreneurs is money is important. But what is most important is once you have the base that you require, then you can do what you want post that, right? And it's also extremely important to have that base, whatever that base is, and then not keep moving that target, right? And that's what I see happening more often than not. That you start with say, okay, I want to have X, and then suddenly after you make X, it's become 3X. After you make 3X, it becomes 10X, and that's the issue, right? But nevertheless very important to have that base. And once you have that base, it gives you the flexibility and the capability to do whatever you want. And thank God and thankfully I'm in that stage now, right? Post exiting my startup, it was not a unicorn, it was not $1 billion exit, but you don't need $1 billion exit to do what you want to do. But it gave enough to say that, okay, the kids' education are taken care of, there is enough money for us to lead a normal, decent life. Now let's go to what you want. And in my case, what next was, I've done two startups and founding member as another startup, overall three startups. What is that I can do to give back and still stay what you do, because you have learned a lot of it, and you want to ensure that you give the best to the startups as well. So, and that's what keeps me excited. In terms of now that I've done startups, I've learned a lot. There's a lot more to learn, a lot more to contribute to, a lot more to work with other guys. And that's what we are doing now. Not and other thing I realized was just mentoring is great, but in addition to mentoring, the startups also require money, right? And that's what I try to marry the two, in terms of saying not only will we give money, but we give our time. And we are still very passionate about startups and entrepreneurs. So every morning, that's what keeps me going. The fact that you're working with extremely bright young people, and you're helping them build something that you can also be a part of. You're living your life vicariously through them, but that is fine, because instead of one, you're doing 16. That's the number of companies we have funded today. And that's very exciting because there's never a dull moment for us.
That's pretty exciting. I'm sure that your day is pretty exciting with these young entrepreneurs, and I would love to know sometime that what's your experience when you talk to them and they tell you something and you feel okay. I have done the same in my past, so I know what's going to be next. So how do you handle those kind of situations? Because you know, often we see that the mistakes that we have done in the past is typically something that they're going to repeat. And sometimes we tell them our experience that this is what we had encountered, and for them it's French because that's not the way they think. So how do you handle that?
Yeah. So one thing that our experience of being in the industry and having done multiple startups has taught you is, every situation is different and every scenario is different, right? Just because something didn't work for you or worked for you doesn't mean it'll work or not work for somebody else. I think that's the
Correct.
first realization we all need to have, right? I
Correct.
think humility has to be there in every person to say, look, I don't know, if there's one thing I really know I don't know, is I don't know everything, right? I'm very clear about it. And it's a constant learning process. And just because you have done a mistake doesn't mean that somebody else should not make the same mistake, or doesn't mean that same mistake will occur in somebody else. So hence, when we have discussions with the founders, we always tell them, look, in this situation, this is what happened to us. So I would really like you to reflect and figure out what you want to do, right? It is not our job as a mentor or as an investor to tell the entrepreneurs what to do. It is our job to tell them, look, these are the situations that we have come across, and in these situations, this is what we did, and this is what we have learned. And we are giving you this as an input for you to make a decision. And you make a decision, you make your own mistakes, you learn through it, but you have to make the decision. So as long as that clarity exists in your own head, you're fine. The problem comes when you say, look, I'm going to tell you what to do, you have to do what I have to tell you, what I tell you to do. That's when all hell breaks loose, and we don't want to do that. And we are very, very clear we don't want to do that, right? And that's how I manage it, by saying, look, I'll tell you what I know, and you decide what you want to do, and that's the best way to deal with it. Yeah.
Lovely. So, Naganan, we have all had our shares of ups and downs. In your couple of startups, you would have encountered. Would love to know some of your important milestones and learnings from your entrepreneurial journey, which probably these young guys could gather some inputs from.
So, look, I think entrepreneurial journey in general is very, very hard, right? I mean, it is very hard, and like I say, only fools or idiots become entrepreneurs, and there are multiple different things we can say, and so on and so forth. But at the end of the day, at the same time, to all the other things that it is very exciting, because of one thing: you control your own destiny, right? There's nobody else telling you what to do, nobody else influencing, or influencing can happen, but you are your own boss. You're taking the calls, you're doing everything. So you can't blame anybody else. And that makes it very hard, but at the same time makes it very exciting, because you control your own destiny. That being said, look, every day is a different journey. Every day is a different scenario, and every day is learning. But I think some overarching things that I always tell people is, number one, the kind of companies we invest in, product has to be good, because IdeaSpring, as you know, invests only in enterprise companies, B2B or B2B2C. So number one criteria for us is the product has to be rock solid, and the technology has to be rock solid, right? But that is just a necessary but not a sufficient condition. Then post that is the real fun starts. Then is how do you get to market, right? How do you get your messaging right? How do you get your product right? How do you get, and then once you do those things, how do you get your sales set, the initial set of 10, 15 customers? How do you get them? Now, that is one phase of the company. The next phase is, how do you get from 15 customers to 50 or 100 customers? And that could also translate into revenue, because the challenges are different. So what we have realized is the stage that we come in, which is pre-revenue, is very different from the stage where you start making revenues, and then very different from the stage you start growing. And an entrepreneur has to grow in that role, has to grow in that journey, has to grow with the company, and the challenges and everything changes quite a bit, right? So in my sense, in my own head, hence I'm saying, look, every day is a learning. You'll keep on making mistakes, you'll keep on learning from it. But the overriding goals of good product, good sales velocity, expansion beyond your current markets, and those are the basic tenets. And to achieve those fundamental qualities that are required is, you got to be humble. You got to have extreme humility, saying, I will always keep looking for improvements. I'll always keep looking for changes, because being an entrepreneur is very hard, because you have to be highly optimistic. At the same time, you have to be your own critic. And it is very, very hard to combine both at the same time, but you have to do it, because you have to be a constant critic of yourself. Not to say that you are doubting everything you do, because then you don't build anything. But whatever you're building, you have to be constantly looking for changes, constantly looking how to adapt, and constantly evolve, right? It's like a spiral. You learn, you implement, you go to market, you learn again. So it's a spiral it's constant spiral that you're in. And that makes it challenging, and then hence you'll make a lot of mistakes, but that is okay. No big deal, as long as hence what you have to realize is the overall goals of the organization, overall goals of the company, overall goals of the team, all those things are converging, right, in the direction you want it to be. But don't worry about certain impediments that comes along the way, that the hurdles you have to cross along the way, and that's part of the journey. So I think that's what I would tell people. Delaying, many things will go wrong, but have your sight on your goal. Like I say, that the fun is in the journey. The fun is not the outcome. The outcomes keep changing. A lot of outcomes have to happen, but you really, really need to enjoy the journey, and that's the key thing, to really enjoy your journey. And that's what I tell all our entrepreneurs, that enjoy the journey. But you have to have wicked focus. Not to say that you take your eyes out of the focus, right? Revenues are important, scale is important, because otherwise, what are you building? End of the day. You have to build a great product, but if you can't get sales, it really doesn't make any sense. We have had those situations in our own fund where product was great, but sometimes you assume the market will treat you differently. But I'll tell you, if there is the biggest humbling factor for a company is the market. You can think what you want, but when you enter, it's like a tsunami hitting you. It'll throw you all over the place, but you got to stay focused and you got to win.
It's a very, very exciting journey for all the private equity and VC space in India in the next 5 to 10 years. Now, I was talking to a few people, Nagaran. I'm also seeing this trend that large family offices are getting into this space in form of considering this as an asset class. So earlier, a lot of this money used to come from outside. Now I was talking to my dear friend who runs a private equity fund, and he's telling me that, Abhishek, close to 7 to 9% of this money is coming from Indian family offices, mainly dominant in Bombay and Bangalore. So what do you feel, about this as an asset class, both VC and private equity? And some people say that private equity cannot give return of more than 10-11% CAGR, and VC a little bit higher. What's your perspective about these two as an asset class, or is just a carry play for the fund?
No, so I am personally very bullish about the startup sector in India, right? I think we are entering the golden age of startup in India for multiple reasons, right? One is for about, really seriously, we started in 2007, 2008. We have about 15 years of track record, which is still short compared to US, which has been there for about 70 years now. But I think we are slowly evolving, and we are getting into that phase where things are becoming exciting. Number one. And number two, India as a market, particularly for B2C, has come up quite a bit, right? Because of various larger trends that you have seen: digitization, mobile networks, mobile phones, cellular network, so on and so forth. India as a market in B2C has evolved quite well, and there's a huge market to get now, right? And in addition to all the other platforms that the government is building, UPI and Aadhaar, and I think the macro trends has been extremely good. That is one case. And because of the B2C is going up now, there are a lot more companies that are coming, and those companies are becoming the playground for the next set of startups. If you look at all the Zomatos, the Swiggies, and the Paytms, and all the other guys, they are now buying from startups. So India as a market itself is evolving, right? Add to that, the government is also getting very serious about startups. So the market for the enterprises is slowly starting to mature. I would still say we have a long ways to go because US is still the largest market. We still have to go to US to sell. But India as a market is also evolving. So once you have a market, opportunities increase significantly, right? Otherwise, who are you building the product to? You cannot build a product in India and sell it to somebody else if there's a lot of behavioral issues outside, that are related to that, right? So hence the B2C market has come really well. In addition to that, the B2B market is also maturing. Like you have seen a lot of companies that are successful in raising global capital when they're building products for the enterprises to sell not only in India, but to the rest of the world, the SaaS and so on and so forth, right? So I think the next 10 years hence will be a very, very exciting phase in the Indian product, in the Indian startup ecosystem, both for B2C and B2B. Number one. Mm-hmm. Number two, what the family offices have also started to realize is those family offices that have come, they have been at it for decades long, right? To build those $1 billion enterprises. But lo and behold, what you're seeing now, you're seeing billion-dollar enterprises being evaluated in 3 years, right? 3 years, 4 years. I don't know how long that is going to last, but it might not be 3 or 4 years. It will be at least, within a decade, right? Let's say
Yes.
within a decade for safe. Compared within a decade to what it used to be 3 decades, 4 decades, there's a huge delta there, right? And everybody is starting to see that. In India, for what it is worth, there are 57 unicorns today. And hence, what is the average life of the unicorn now? 4 years, 5 years. And
Yeah.
hence, family offices are suddenly getting up and saying, look, we have built this over 30 years, which is phenomenal. I mean, building a unicorn is phenomenal, but hey, we see the opportunities coming up in 4 to 5 years. Why don't we now invest in that, right? And hence, add value to what we are doing, not only from our own financial network, but at the same time, they can also say, how do you also help the Indian startup ecosystem evolve, right? Because many of us who have been in the industry, we are always saying, look, we need local capital, right? Foreign capital is important. I'm not going to say it is not important, because more capital you have is good. But we also want the Indian capital to stay in India so that can be recirculated in India, right?
Correct.
If Indian capital makes, say, 100 rupees, 70 will come back into India and 30 they'll keep. However, if a foreign entity makes it, if they make 100, only 20 will come back, hopefully, right? Because they will use it for other things. So we are crying out aloud for corporates, Indian public entities, Indian family offices, Indian ultra network, high network individuals to come back and invest in the Indian market. And you see that happening. So I don't think it's a carry game, because everybody will see through it if it is just a carry game, because and the other thing is you will get the carry only when you return money to the investors, right? So it's good, let the fund managers like me make carry, because when we make carry because we give 80% to the investors and we only take 20%. So even if it's a carry game, investors are going to make a lot of money, and that is good news for India. And also the kind of investors you're getting is also good, right? Many entrepreneurs are also turning investors now, and that is great, because you have pulse of when to invest early on. Because I'll tell you, you need a whole gamut of investors to help a startup go, right? Like I said, early stage it requires different focus, mid stage requires different focus, late stage requires different focus, and you need the entire spectrum of investors to be available to guide and help the founders and the startups to this journey. And we are seeing that happening in India, right? Your early stage, which is your mid stage, which is your private individuals, family offices now co-investing with VCs. Because one thing I would definitely tell is it's hard for family offices to do the lead investment, right? Because I still believe you require the VCs to kind of identify the company, identify the founders, work with the founders, because family offices cannot give the same time the VCs can give. However, co-investing and raising and then having the ability to raise more Indian money is a great thing happening to the ecosystem, and we should encourage it more. And I think that's a good trend. And it's a serious trend. It's not something that's frivolous. It's not something that's fly by night. I think it's here to see, and it is overall, I'm very optimistic that it's going to be very useful for the ecosystem.
Great. So since Nagaran, we are in this platform, and this could go to a lot of people, would love to know a little bit about your fund and what kind of people are you targeting, and anything else that you want to add. Probably it can benefit the people who are listening to this, can benefit your company.
Idea Spring is one of the very early funds in India that focused only on pre-revenue seed stage product innovation companies, right? So even today, if you look at it, there are only 5-6 funds that are doing it. But when we started in 2015, we are one of the very, very early ones. And we have continued to do it. And the biggest differentiator from our fund perspective is, like I said, we not only give money, but we spend 12 to 18 months working very closely with the founders. So we only do 4 to 5 companies a year because we give that money. Because initially we're thinking we'll do an incubator and things like that, but those are overused terms. So hence we decided to do was do a program called Startup Assist. Make sure that the companies you invest in, you give all you have to work with the founders, become partners of the founders. Very clear that we will not own operation responsibilities, but we will help our founders how much ever we can, right? And that has worked very well. In our fund, all our entrepreneurs, my CTO, Suri, has done 3 startups. Arihant Patni, he has been an entrepreneur himself. So I think we are a fund that has entrepreneurs, and that has resonated extremely well with all the entrepreneurs. So we did 16 investments in the first fund. We are only going to do follow on now. In the process of raising the second fund, we are trying to do a 250 crore fund. First fund was 120 crores. We are trying to do a 250 crore fund. We have had very good traction, but still looking for like-minded LPs to come on board. So if this reaches out to any LPs, who's looking to invest in a good fund, would love to talk to them. And for entrepreneurs in the product innovation space, we'd love to hear from you, and do reach out to us if you have any ideas that we can work with you with, and very passionate about working with good entrepreneurs in the product innovation space.
Lovely, lovely, Nagaran. Once again, I would like to thank you so much for your time. You shared some very interesting ideas for young entrepreneurs. You also shared about what people like you look at when they are selecting entrepreneurs, the business model, the scale, the humility in the person. These are very important points. And when people are just fresh out of college and they're just starting and they're looking at the big names which come into newspapers or in your story and in the other ones, they forget the what it takes to be there, at times. So I think those perspectives are very important. I'm sure through this platform, a lot of these people will get immense inputs from you. And thanks once again for being part of this series.